燃え強がって飛び乗って風に流って青空昨日を越えろ Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Talking MONS, the show where we recap each episode of Digimon Adventure Sai as they come out. My name is JD and joining me is Jeanette and Gary.
Oh.
Hi!
And we are going to be talking about episode 3, which I think is called To the Digital World, which we'll get into it, but I feel is a misleading title. So basically, episode 3 kind of picks up where episode 2 left off. Greymon and Gurumon had fused into Omnimon, and they take on this, virus squid thing. I still haven't figured
Virus
out.
Squidmon.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't figured out if it has an actual name.
Or
I
Squidmon.
think it does because it
In
looks
Warhammer
very
tradition,
much.
he has to be Squidmon.
Okay.
Looks very much like the one from the movie.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, he's got some Infomon and Diablomon in there. But yeah, Omnimon fucking kills the monster. I would say almost nonchalantly.
Well, he is like, a mega or whatever, or ultra mega or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into the specifics here in a minute. And then Ty and Izzy go to summer camp for a hot second. Sora's there, Joe's there in the background. And then they're like, "Hey, we should go to the digital world because there's a blackout happening." And that's pretty much it.
I mean, I don't think they intended to go to the digital world. I think it was just kind of a side effect.
Right. So we kind of talked a little bit before recording. Jeanette, you really liked this episode, right?
I loved it. I thought it was the best.
Okay. Gary, what were your thoughts?
It's a little right in the middle. It's right in the middle. Because I still feel like certain part is stretched out a little, and
Okay,
like I was expecting more from the camp.
Okay,
And they just sort of brush aside what just happened with the bomb and everything.
yeah. So, Jeanette, I do want to get into like what you did find so appealing about this episode. But I think Gary and I are kind of in a similar camp here, where I'm starting to think that this show might have a pacing problem. Because this episode is just so all over the place. Because I mean, when I say that Omnimon kills the big bomb virus guy like nonchalantly, like it happens in the corner of the screen, like far away, and he just goes poof and he's dead.
I think it has something to do with production issues.
Maybe.
Because next week we're not going to have an episode.
Well, okay, so I do want to address that. Okay, so unfortunately, because of the virus, they said after episode 4, which we'll have another episode next week, but after that, Digimon is going on hiatus for indefinitely, I guess. So unfortunately, we're gonna get 4 of these episodes done, and then we're gonna our show is also gonna have to go on hiatus until they put out 4 episodes. But
yeah, I did notice some animation quality issue that the first 2 episodes didn't have, and I feel like that's like they have to rush some part of it out, and that's why I feel like that little corner of the screen where, like, that little virus gets defeated.
Sure. I mean, so far this show seems really rushed because, I mean, Gary, you mentioned it that like the reason Ty and Izzy even met up is because Izzy was coming up to like ask him about questions about camp. They're at camp for like 30 seconds before they go home. They basically go to camp only to say like, "Hey, this is Sora," and everyone thinks she's cool. Which Sora's my girl, so I'm glad she showed up. But at the same time, she shows up for 2 seconds to say hi and then runs off. And then Ty and Izzy go home on a bus. So this whole thing about like, oh, summer camp, this thing we're going to.
I think it's more of like a day camp in this one.
I don't know. They had tents and everything, so I assumed they were going for at least a weekend or something. But I mean, if it's a day camp and like in the next episode they go back, or like if they're like going back and forth between the digital world, that's one thing. But it's like, yeah, like the camp things like almost seem like an afterthought. And then
I feel like if they actually, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, the episode ends on yet another cliffhanger where Ty and Izzy are gonna go to the actual digital world, but you see a little pink twinkle follow them in, meaning Sora, because Ty was running down the street. Sora noticed him, ran after him, and I think she got sucked into the digital world too. Like the next episode's called like Bergermon something, so obviously it's gonna be about her. But yeah, I just think there's a lot of pacing issues. So it's like, am I enjoying this show? Like, obviously I do like it because it's got like all these characters I really enjoy. And obviously it's eating on my nostalgia quite a bit. But I don't know, just like the pacing of this show is really weird to me.
I think it's like modern anime pacing, you know.
I don't know. It just seems like it almost seems like they're cutting the episodes off at weird times. Like, I feel like had the second episode ended with Omnimon killing that virus.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. Like, if they put all the entire Omnimon, especially if it ended with what they did in like episode 3 with that. Okay, I'm going into stuff, but like, that thing where there's no dialogue, there's just the music playing while this happens, and it's just this big powerful moment that would have been a really good emotional payoff for episode 2.
Right, yeah. So it's like so like in episode 2 it ends with Omnimon being formed. I'm fine with that being the big cliffhanger. That's cool. That gets me interested for the next episode. But when a third of your next episode is the fight between this monster that we've been fighting for the last 2 episodes, and the Omnimon's big, face off, and then it immediately for the next 2/3 of the episode goes into like this, just like very kind of mundane, very slice of life kind of stuff. It like I would have rather had this entire episode be about like Omnimon beating ass, and then maybe the episode end with like, okay, we're going back, and next episode we're going to camp, and we're gonna spend an entire episode at camp and getting to like know Sora's character a little bit, and give Joe more than like one line of dialogue in the background.
He had 2 lines of dialogue.
That's true. He's like, I need to cut this thing. Oh no, I sliced my finger.
It's I feel like Joe right there.
Yeah. Oh, Joe.
I feel like they have.
I can't wait for Joe to appear in the anime. And I have to wait till it comes back from hiatus. So it could be like 2 years from now. And then it's like, Joe, finally I get more Joe.
Right.
I feel like the summer camp thing is they sort of forced themselves into it. I feel like they didn't need the whole summer camp spiel if they're going to like end up going to the digital world a different way, like how we did.
Yeah. I definitely feel like the whole summer camp thing felt like okay, this was in the beginning of the original anime, so we have to like at least reference it, but like it seems like such a nothing plot point because they don't spend any time there. So it's like, what was and like they're not going to the digital world from camp like they did in the original show, so what was the point?
Yeah, I'm not. So we can see Sora in her camp counselor outfit.
I mean, again, Sora's my girl, and I like that she's in the show now. But like, she shows up, has like, Izzy's like, "Hey, all the other girls are saying that you're really cool and stuff." She's like, "Nice to meet you," and then runs off. That's it.
I feel like if like, given what happened at the beginning of the episode with the whole bomb going off in the sky, if they cancel camp, even though there was a big deal in the first episode, it would be understandable. Then they could have all these other dialogue with Sora and everything elsewhere.
That's a really good point. They're going to camp like a week after a warhead was detonated over Japan. Nah, man. Japan, like Tokyo, at least Tokyo will be on like total lockdown for like a month after that shit happened. There's no way these kids are actually still going to camp after that. And if I was like, even if they still had the camp like active, I would like, I don't know. I'm more familiar with Ty's mom from the anime where she was kind of an airhead. But there's no way they would let their kids still go to that. They're like, no, you're staying home where you're not going to die.
I don't know. There's a lot of parents who are clamping at the bit to send their kids back to school in the pandemic.
Oh, that's a whole other thing.
We will
Stay
be
at
here all
home,
night.
people. It's not worth it. But yeah, I think that's just my general grievance with this episode, and maybe the show in general, is I just think it has a pacing problem. I think they need to extend some stuff, shorten some stuff here and there. Just I don't know. I'm
hoping after a few episodes it'll find its groove. You know,
I'm hoping so because
yeah,
I really want to like this show. I really do.
And sometimes the anime be like that. Like you, like on paper, it should be a show you like, but there's just that one little thing or that one little detail that means you just can't really get into it.
Yeah. So Jen, I don't know if we really we got into it yet, but what did you find so appealing about this episode?
Well, I saw it yesterday, so don't remember exactly, but I just like, you know, that whole that thing where there's just the music playing while the scene plays out with Omnion. As I said, it would have been better as a powerful finisher to the last episode, but I just thought it was like a really beautiful scene. I really enjoyed it, and it was just powerful to me. And then we go to kind of the mundane camp stuff. You know, wasn't the most exciting, but I had fun with it. I found it interesting. I kind of like the dialogue with Joe, or the dialogue when Izzy and Ty are headed back from fighting Omnion, and Izzy is way too into this military stuff for an 8-year-old, but whatever. And
yeah, a little bit.
Like
he's
that
a
kid,
genius.
He is a genius.
He's a military genius.
Clearly, he's like, I can just like look up military secrets, and I like how Matt even kind of brought attention to that last episode.
And I kind of like how when Ty is brought back from the internet, he and Izzy are walking home, and Izzy's coming up with all these theories for what happened, and Ty's like,
okay. I do want to give props to that episode because it's like the one thing I do really like about this show so far is they are focusing a lot on Ty and Izzy's friendship, and I've always liked their dynamic of like Izzy is just like this rambly super genius that is like has a million ideas, and Ty is a moron. So of course Ty is just like yep. That makes sense. Yes, I get exactly what you're putting down.
Yep. And I really like.
No, go ahead.
And I really liked at the end of the episode when they come to the digital world and it just pans over the digital world. And I thought it was really colorful and it actually looked really well animated. I was like, I totally dig this. I'm totally ready for the digital world. I'm totally ready for the next episode.
Yeah.
One little detail I really love about that part is the square glistening on the water. That's how you know that it's like you're in the digital world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way this episode ended is perfectly fine because it shows like, okay, like we just arrived in the digital world. We're ready to hit the ground running next episode. Great. I'm on board. But to call this episode to the digital world, it's like, to me, and maybe that's a translation error a little bit, but to me that says like, okay, we're going to go and spend the episode there. But to Gary's point, yeah, I do think the design of the digital world, at least from what we've seen, is a lot more digital. I think is like it's very much more set apart from our world. It's a little more surreal versus kind of a more real but kind of more saturated version that the old show had.
Yeah.
But you can just take one look at this and like, okay, this is definitely another world. Like just watching the sky in the background and like the weird like swooping mountains they have in the back, you could definitely tell this is like kind of an alien world. So I do like the design they're going with so far.
Yeah, in the middle of the episode, it was kind of like more low-key slice of life, and I think you have to have a high tolerance for that. But at the same time, that's stuff that I really, really like and really dig in anime. So it was totally in my wheelhouse, up my alley. I was totally down with that.
Yeah, and I mean, I can get down with some slice of life stuff every now and then, and it's not something I have a problem with. It's just it was so breezed over.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the camp scene was just a little too rushed. Like that scene, it felt like something like that scene in the flower shop in the room. That's kind of how it felt to me.
Yeah, like literally, Mel and I were watching this, and they're like, okay, we're going to camp. Great, we're gonna spend some time at camp. And then it cuts to the scene of Ty and Izzy on a bus, and Mel and I literally looked at each other, like, that it? They're going home already? It's like,
that was a flashback.
That's what I thought. It's like, are we flashing back to them going to camp, and then they're back in the city doing stuff? And I'm like, well, that was abrupt.
I was expecting, at the very least, more characterization. Like, more character, like, explore their character. Like, how would Izzy react, like, far away from, like, city life and his
except he has his tablet computer with him the entire time.
Yeah, I was like, maybe, hey, can't get a signal. He can't really do much with it.
Well, I mean, that was kind of his character introduction in the original show. Is he's like walking around and be like, hey, is anybody getting a signal out here? He's like trying to link it up to his satellite phone, and he's not, because like all the interference from the digital world merging and the giant wave that's coming.
There's some joke about him that he can't like get away from the computers. Like, you're out in nature, do some activity with other kids.
Yeah, exactly. I would have loved that. I would have loved seeing Izzy trying to do camp activities for an episode. It would have been delightful.
And I do think though that over the course of the anime, we're gonna have a lot of time to develop the characters.
I really do hope so. Because like I said, I want to like this show, and it's not a sentiment I give to a lot of shows where it's like I go in actively wanting to like it and like trying to find reasons to like it, because on any other show I probably would have stopped watching it at this point, but if I hadn't many issues. But
I've watched some awful anime, and I guess as long as it's not like offensively bad, I'm like, nah, sure.
I feel like the writing process they have of the show, it's very like I wouldn't say linear, but I feel like they wrote out everything in one go, and then they have to find the right place to chop it up into episodes.
Yes,
it feels a little disorganized, definitely.
Yes, for sure. I think that's kind of where I'm at.
They are stuck at a point where at the end of this episode, they know they have to at least show one little bit of the digital world, but they can't fill it out with more because it wouldn't work. Because once you get the digital world, you want to get it going. But also, you're stuck with the previous cliffhanger where you want to left off where Omnimon was.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is that basically they need to split this episode into two. They need to take the entire fight with Omnimon, the first third of this, shove it at the back half of last episode, make this entire episode about them going to camp, and at the end of this episode, they can go back home, and then they can go to the digital world and end where this episode ends, with them going to the digital world, and then next episode will start with them exploring that world. And I think, I mean, obviously I don't work in animation, so I don't know how shit works, but just for me as a viewer, I think if they had cut it up a little more like that, I think I wouldn't have so many issues with pacing.
And I kind of wonder, like, how much of this was affected by, like, the COVID in Japan and all that. Because I wonder if that affected, like, how the end product turned out. Like, maybe they intended to do it differently, but they had to, like,
stretch stuff out a little.
Yeah.
So that's another thing where I can't really say, because I don't know how the Japanese animation process works. Because I know at least in American animation, episodes are worked on like a year and a half in advance.
No.
Not
in Japan, they literally draw from week to week. Like,
some shows won't be finished until like a few hours before it's supposed to air.
And sometimes, and sometimes they'll just be like, we're just going to put this out and we're going to fix everything in the DVD or Blu-ray release.
So they're working on the South Park model.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to
But
know.
not the South Park quality.
Yeah. So all right. So maybe I'm wondering, and that's the thing. If they put out a little statement, it's like, hey, these first couple episodes were affected because we're working during the virus and maybe wasn't up to what we wanted. I think that would excuse a lot. Because I know so many people and so many industries that this whole virus is really throwing everything off, and I could kind of understand a little bit about that. But right now, I'm just kind of I'm taking what I'm given and kind of analyzing from there, I guess. But
things with anime, especially depending on the studio, it's all really depending on the studio. It's all about time management. You have studios like Trigger where they would basically do everything beforehand and then give it to the TV stations to air. And then you have, in most part, especially with kids shows, that they work as like with the airing schedule. They just try to have weekly deadline. Of course, they'll start ahead of time, but it doesn't mean that it'll be polished.
It's not like they go in with like this giant stockpile of episodes when the first episode airs.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of time they get approval for like from the network. Oh yeah, we're gonna buy the show, but here you have like 2 months to get it ready. Just throwing a number out there.
That's why you kind of had like interspecies romance, where the reason why Funimation picked it up without realizing that it was softcore porn was because the manga or the light novel, I can't remember which, didn't have
manga
didn't have any of the softcore porn, and none of the episodes had been released yet, so they just assumed it wasn't going to have any, and then that was one heck of a surprise for Funimation.
Same with the actual TV networks too, because a lot of TV network picked it up in Japan, and then it's like, nope.
Yeah,
they have to nope it out. It was network TV, like on the air.
Oh, Beastars. Well, is there anything else you guys want to mention about this episode before we wrap up?
Nothing that I can really think of.
Okay.
I think I said everything that I really liked about it.
Okay. Gary?
With everything that's going on in the world, I would rather have them have a longer hiatus and then give us quality episodes later on than like have them rush in different episodes as like they instead of pushing out as quickly as they can.
Sure. Yeah, I totally get that. So yeah, next week is going to be our last episode of Talking Mons and of Digimon Adventure Sci for a little while until we get an update of when it's coming back. But after that, we'll be back and we'll be talking more about more episodes. But in the meantime, just let us know what you guys thought about this episode and how the series is going so far for you guys. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, because I'm interested to hear everyone's differing sides on this, because obviously we on the show here have differing opinions just on this single episode, so I'd be interested to hear everyone else's thoughts on that. But until then, hope everyone's staying safe, and we'll catch you again next week for another episode about Digimon.
Bye.
Bye.